Hello, gentle watchers of YouTube. Hopefully it's not too snowy wherever you are. I'm currently at Markoff Manor down here in Florida, and as a vampire I find the whole thing difficult. I spend a fortune on SPF, and there's not much snow, so I can't complain. Much. And speaking of snow, it plays a big role in the next video, which highlights my top 10 choices for the best art of Kaldheim, and here they are in all their snow-white, Doomscar-y goodness. Number 10. Tyvarkell by Chris Rallis. Chris Rallis is known for his planeswalkers, and objectively, they are just hot. Like smoking hot. You can look for yourself. I dare you to find one who isn't hot. And we can't talk about Tyvarkell without talking about his hotness. A 10's a 10. Side note, he actually reminds me of a guy I used to know in, shall we say, a romantic capacity. Jealous? Don't be. It ended horribly. Actually, you can be a little jealous. I basically seduced Tyvarkell. Number 9. Sulfurous Meyer by Titus Linter. I think as far as landscapes go, Kaldheim might be a personal favorite of mine, and it is pieces like this that show me why. There's so much being said in this piece without characters, and it moves me. This is something I'm learning to do as a viewer. I did an interview with Titus, who really helped me evaluate how I looked at the landscapes. So perhaps there's an influence here. Luckily, this is all based on my opinion, and I currently am the only person I know who can utilize that. Also, what kind of person can deny the brilliance of seeing literal fire and ice coming together in one horizon? I will admit, I've drafted this card just so I can look at it. Form over function happens, especially when it's this cool. Number 8. Dream Devourer by David Raposa. It may shock some of you to find out that I love horror artwork, and Dream Devourer is horror excellence. What strikes me, though, is how it conjures up many monsters of Magic the Gathering's pasts. It could really live on any plane. It's also physically interstitial. It's got the underworld chains of Theros, the Dominaria demons imposing physicality, the horns of Nicobolus, and the Emrakulian chin. It makes sense, though. If you devour dreams, you gotta fit in where dreams are. It's both prudent and horrific. Number 7. Doomscar by Piet Dura. One of the great things about Kaldheim is the immediately identifiable colors. The pink, blue, and violet phosphorescence are unique to the plane and are beautiful, even when depicting disaster. And that's what we see here with Doomscar, which is a natural event of two realms crashing into one another that would, in real-world terms, be the equivalent of Mount Vesuvius erupting during the 1906 earthquake of San Francisco with the healthy dose of Book of Revelations. But from our point of view, we see it happening from a distance, and like an F5 tornado, it is undeniably beautiful. Anyone else here feel like they want to do some Doomscar chasing? Number 6. The World Tree by Anastasia Ovichnikova. Following the theme of beauty from a distance, the World Tree shows us Kaldheim all at once. Unlike other planes, Kaldheim has different realms all born of the same tree. It clearly takes its inspiration from the Tree of Life, an archetype or mytheme found in most world cultures. Yggdrasil, the Norse version of the Tree of Life myth, gives depth to the story, but it is just icing on the cake. It's already beautifully and brilliantly represented by this cosmic vista that makes the otherworldly beauty of Kaldheim utterly believable. Number 5. Coma, Cosmos Serpent by Jesper Ejsing. Much like Doomscar, Coma is a natural disaster but in a corporeal form. Coma is the oldest of the Cosmos monsters, which are giant creatures that can move in between the realms of the World Tree. Coma is inspired by Nidhugg, a horrific serpent that consumes anything that has the misfortune of being in its way. Coma's size is unparalleled. It's so big that it's impossible to tell where it ends and the World Tree begins. It can tear rivers and vistas apart simply by moving. This is a monster you don't want to see because it's likely the last thing you will see. But even more impressive is not 1 ounce of horror is lost to the pastel colors. Who knew Periwinkle and Cerulean could be so menacing? Jesper did, and if you haven't already, check out my interview with him. Number 4. Snow-Covered Plains by Sarah Finnegan. This may be a debut piece for Finnegan. You can actually check out my interview that I did with her on my channel, but experience is not a prerequisite for a great artist. And like the others mentioned, it tells a story. Two stones standing together, like lovers, sisters, or brothers, or something, I can't really be sure, as they stare at the horizon and the World Tree dipping out, is just awe-inspiring. Only one can speculate what is written in the hieroglyphics, but I would imagine it's something filled with beauty and wonder. Number 3. Vornclex, Monstrous Raider, Showcase Version by Richard Leong. To start off, I do want to give an honorable mention to Darkin. His version of Vornclex was a perfect way to have new Phyrexia explode onto the scene after almost a decade's worth of silence. However, the first incarnation leaves me with more questions than answers. It's also hard to tell that he's actually 12 feet tall since we don't have anything around him to really put him to scale. This is why I opted for Leong's take. It's Voronklex in all of his horrible glory. He holds an eviscerated Omen Speaker, whose terrified eyes are frozen wide open even in death, while he feasts on meat that suggests something much larger than the hollowed-out corpse he holds in front of him. It is a shockingly violent image, even by MTG standards, and the clever switching of black and red keeps it from veering into glorifying violence, but it gets the job done. Voronklex is brutal, and this piece shows us how brutal he can be. Number 2. Snowcovered Forest by Omar Ryan. The artwork here feels like vintage magic, and for good reason. Ryan goes way back, most notably contributing to the Lorwyn block, and his work is steeped in that fairy tale look. The snow in this piece is pure winter wonderland, and the use of a sleepy owl, which honestly is what an owl would look like during the daytime hours, adds a nice touch of humor to a set that is primarily harsh in its themes. One wonders what inspired Ryan, who hasn't illustrated for Magic in many years, to return. Perhaps an interview is necessary. Number 1. Valky, God of Lies, by Younghai Choi, Jegolf Rukowski, and Jeff Miracola. This is a rare instance of 3 different artists absolutely nailing their respective depictions of one single character at once. Up until now, I've always had a preference to one variation of a character in one set to another. Not this time, though. I loved all of these the moment I saw them, and that's not an easy feat, especially with a character-focused piece. There are 3 styles here. We have a traditional, Choi, a photorealistic, Rukowski, and a graphic novel, Miracola, variation, that all have elements that both complement each other and drive home who Valky is, or in this case isn't, with a sinister threat and an unsavory sleaze that befits this aptly titled God of Lies. It's just fantastic, and I wonder if there was any sort of back and forth between the artists. It just feels unified in a way I don't think any other multiple representation of a character has before. Ultimately, it doesn't make a difference. Whether this was planned or, as Bob Ross would say, a happy accident, everybody here triumphs and ties for the gold. I hope you liked that, and I would like to know what you think. What are your favorite pieces? Let me know in the comments below. And, as always, if you comment and subscribe, you are entered in our weekly video giveaway. And speaking of, this week's winner is Poison Blade with an extended art counterspell from Commander Legends. Just shoot me an email at alpermarkov@gmail.com. Well, that's all I have for this evening, so until next time, I gotta scoop.